Climate Wisdom from COP30 Belém.
Welcome to our Climate Wisdom studio. It's streaming live from COP30 Climate Change Conference in Belém, Brazil. We bring together delegates from the area of civil society, faith, policy making, and science. My name is Sonja Ohlsson. I'm from the Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative, and I will be your moderator here tonight. The topic tonight is women leading with ethics in the climate action agenda. And indeed, climate change is not gender neutral. This is very clearly stated by UN Women. It affects women the most: displacement, food insecurity, and loss of family situations and livelihoods. And yesterday we had Christiana Figueres here in the studio, and we know her from the Paris Agreement. And some years before that, she actually came into our side event in Bonn, and she stated very clearly that we have come into this situation with serious climate change because the man has been governing all the politics through all the years, and now we have to change it. We have to get the women on the policy making and political table in order to change this serious climate crisis. So I'm very happy to have two women with me here tonight so we can discuss this topic, and you are both of you very much engaged in this. Laura Jessie Cook from Project Dandelion and Maureen Goodman from Brahma Kumaris in the UK. Most welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you here. And I'll introduce you properly, Laura. You're a senior strategist, policy and narrative with Project Dandelion, a woman-led global campaign for climate justice. But you also have a PhD at the University of Birmingham.
Soon. I'm halfway through. Halfway through, all right.
But you're doing researching intergenerational dialogue in tackling climate crisis. And you have also worked with charities, we worked with civil society. So there must be a story behind your long-term engagement. You must have started early. So I wonder, what's your story motivating you doing all this work with women, faith and climate?
Yeah, sure. I think the story is stories, actually. As a little girl, I loved stories. I loved reading. I loved books that would take you into another world. But then as I got older, I think there was that realization that sometimes the stories we are told don't match the reality of the lives so many are living. And there was, as a teenager, I still remember really reckoning with this beautiful world that I was told existed through storybooks. And actually the world that did exist sometimes was very difficult for nature, for people. And as you said in the introduction, especially for women, sometimes, you know, that reality doesn't match up. And my work has been quite diverse. I've worked in a lot of different things, but I also think there's been a common thread through all of those, which has been this real desire to look at the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we tell each other, and how we can create better stories to hopefully create a better future. For people, for nature, something that we want to read, something that we want to dive into, and something that we can create a reality out of as well. So that's been a thread for me. I mean, with women in particular, I think women have always been there. Women have always been the ones with their sleeves rolled up, often just doing the work. For me, though, that is a story that hasn't being told well enough. We do hear about women's vulnerabilities, but we don't often hear about the fact women are part of the solution. Women are part of the change and the progress. Women have ideas and innovation. So that really motivates me.
So what's the story you're telling yourself here in COP30 in the heat?
At the moment, at the midway point, keep going is definitely the story. But yeah, I think it's there's two halves. We started COP with President Lula telling us this would be a COP of truth. And actually, I think these words have come up a lot at COP this year. These words like truth, justice, COP of cooperation and the collective or inclusion. These words we've heard over and over again.
A word I've heard I don't usually hear at COP is love.
Yes, you're right. And these are values. These are spiritual values that are being brought up increasingly in this often what feels like quite sterile technical environment. But yeah, the story I'm telling myself at the moment is how do we actually get those values, not only to be something that's said in speeches, but something that resonates throughout the process.
I was thinking the other day that this COP is special because only those who really want to be here are here. Because the journey is very long.
Yes.
You know, I came all the way from India. My God, what a long journey! And I hear many miss their connections in Sao Paulo, so they get stranded. So people who really want to be here are here, and who are making the effort to take the journey and to paying the money to be here. So that also brings a special atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen so many Indigenous people who have travelled for days actually along the river to be here as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Important.
Yeah.
So hearing her story, Laura's story, what's your story?
My story.
Yeah. And Maureen here, she's the program director of Brahma Kumaris in the UK, and she is Brahma Kumaris representative to UN in Vienna, have decades of interfaith work in UCB. But the real story of your commitment to serve humanity, what is it from the beginning?
Well, I was just thinking about the reading, and my favorite book as a child was Peter Pan. So there must be something about rejuvenation. But I think since I was very young, I always had a feeling that I wanted to serve in some way. And I think the things that have always been dear to me from a young age until now, sharing, inclusivity, very important, compassion, and justice. You know, I would really feel things very deeply. And I think coming to the Brahma Kumaris, it's just interesting that it gave me an opportunity for spiritual development, but also to serve. You know, there's so much need. You just have that feeling that if there's anything you can do that can support people to come out of their suffering, I have to do it. I'm very lucky that I've had a lot of love in my life from childhood on. And many people haven't. And so you also feel a sense of gratitude, but also that you need to give. It's humbling that you want to give the return. And I think as I've continued in this way of life, I've understood more and more how relevant spirituality is to everything that we do. You know, and I've been involved in prison work, healthcare, so many areas, and interreligious dialogue, and definitely the environment. And spirituality is key to moving things along, making things work, making things flourish. But I just say one thing, I know what I had to learn, as well as caring for others, I had to learn to care for myself, because it's been twice when I've been very close to burnout, actually. And there was my spiritual mentor who sort of put me right. And so I had to learn, if I don't take care of myself, I don't nourish myself spiritually inside, then I won't be able to do what I feel I need to do. And I do feel faith plays a big part too. And I do feel that it's what God wants me to do, you know, and that's very nourishing in itself. So.
Did you know as a kid that your life would be different?
I did, actually, in a funny way. I knew inside, I couldn't even formulate the thought properly, but I knew there was something special I had to do.
And talking about burnout, we see a lot of it in COP. It's very, very stressful there in the COP. And sometimes the AC don't work. In the Global Ethical Pavilion, I heard it was very, very hot. Yeah.
Sometimes in our teachings, it says you have to tolerate everything, praise and insult, heat and cold. And I thought, yes, okay, I get it.
And a few of us have been saying, while it is uncomfortable, undoubtedly, when it gets very hot in the pavilions, that it is also a reminder that for so many, again, women, often they're working in heat like that day in, day out, and it's a reality. You know, and they're not sat down in a pavilion. They're doing manual labor, or they're doing work where it's actually dangerous for their health because of the climate crisis.
It's true. Absolutely. So coming back to COP, and we are now halfway, and you've been here for 1 week, and you've been doing lots with Project Dandelion. But what stands out for you from the past week, and what is your expectations for the coming week?
I found it a really interesting and different COP this year. I feel like there's two halves to this COP. I mean, we sometimes say there are different worlds at COP. You've got the negotiations, and then you've then got the civil society side. But I think what they've done in Brazil, which is very interesting, is they've got this action agenda, which is running alongside for the first time the negotiations. And what you've seen there is actually some wonderful tales of progress and of people that have been innovative through this action agenda work with businesses and youth and women and faith leaders. You know, it's all been brought in, and that's been part of the narrative here. But at the same time, in negotiations at the end of week 1, we're getting to that point where we see things like finance getting stuck. You know, and even now discussions are still going on in the COP actually as we speak. They've overrun today, and we also see, you know, these difficulties around the science, the 1.5, and you know, how countries are going to work together, how they're going to come together, while simultaneously civil society are starting to model you can come together, you can do things collectively. And with Project Dandelion, it's been wonderful because we've been part of so many different events that have just shown how women are reaching across what would have traditionally been seen as silos, to actually embrace and work through maybe difficulties or challenges to look at actually how can we do this together. And both myself and Maureen are part of the Women, Faith and Climate Network. Project Dandelion's a partner in that too. And even today we've had a wonderful gathering with women and men, but from all different faiths, not necessarily always agreeing, but finding ways to disagree agreeably. And I think the negotiators need a bit of that. So going forward, I think faith is a word that's important. For me, I don't know how I would do COPs if I didn't have personal faith. I would struggle. I really love what you were saying, you know, about bringing up caring for the self and burnout, because I think it's very real for people working in this space. But I also think there is this belief that as human beings, we can do better. We can do better for our fellow human beings and better for the more than human world. So yes, hope and faith for week 2 that we can get over some of these stumbling blocks around finance, I think.
Hope and faith.
Yeah, definitely.
And a stubborn optimism that Christiana talks about.
Love it. A radical collaboration.
Radical
that Mary
collaboration.
Yeah, speaks about our co-founder.
Of all the events in the past week, is it one that stands out for you?
Yes, I think there is, because it was an event that, you know, everything changed. From the, I'm British, and you like to plan things very well when you're British, and then nothing went according to plan, but it was still beautiful. We had an event in a building outside of the COP called Casa Dourada, and it was an event with a lot of local Brazilians. And we held a global ethical stock take. So for listeners, this is something that's been going on this year, championed by Minister Silva, these ethical dialogues as part of the COP. And we had a gathering of what was meant to be about 40 people and ended up being well over 100
Wow.
in a room where we were looking at what it would mean to advocate for beings that are not human. So for the mountains, for the rivers, for the animals. And the conversation was so rich, so rich. And then we followed this with a water ceremony from a local group, well, local to Latin America, from Colombia. But actually out of that just came a real sense of energy, and that there were 100 plus wonderful women, and it was all women just really doing the work, and it's carried me through the rest of the week. So
fantastic.
yeah.
You've been to the same event today here in the TED House.
Yes.
Are there any points that stands out from today?
Well, you review how did you do?
We had a really engaged audience, and it was, do you know what, it was the atmosphere of the space more than there were lots of wonderful things said, but I think it was actually the fact that we created a moment of calm and of conversation. And I think people are very fed up with panels.
Yeah.
And they're very fed up with speeches that no one's listening to. And what we actually had was a moment with some interventions and some provocations and some words, but actually time for dialogue. I think we really need that right now.
We all paneled out.
Yes, we're all panelled out, definitely.
Everything that was spoken about was in the way getting behind the issue in terms of values and spirituality and connectedness. I mean, that was just reflected in most of the comments that were made, which was really great.
So we are talking about storytelling, the narrative, but it's also very important with good questions, right? I have to ask myself good questions. Nowadays with AI, we also know that good questions is very important. Otherwise you get totally wrong answer. But what is the most, Maureen, what is the most important question to ask oneself at this moment in time? And to ask oneself as a woman, what's the most important question to ask others?
Okay, so firstly, the question to myself, am I spiritually nourished?
Am I spiritually nourished?
Yes. Am I feeling a sense of clarity, empowerment, spiritual strength inside? And then I know that, yes, I'll be able to use the wisdom that is inherent to all of us in the work that I have to do. And as a woman, the most important question to myself is, do I think of myself as a woman? Because if I think of myself as a woman, there's still a lot of gender baggage because of all of our conditioning. And I really learnt this a long time ago. I had this realization, this light bulb, that putting that label of gender on myself had made me restrict myself in so many ways. And, it really helped me to come back to my self-dignity and a real awareness of what's possible for me away from gender, because the conditioning is so subtle and so deep. And this was something the founder, he empowered women to become spiritual leaders and teachers. And he said to them, don't think of yourself as women. This is nearly 90 years ago in a conservative community in India. And he said to them, don't think of yourself as women, think of yourself as souls. And so, that's so important for me. And what was the third one? What do I ask others? Ask others. I think the important thing is, what is your heart telling you? What is your conscience telling you? Listen to that inner voice and follow it. And you won't go wrong. You won't go wrong.
So I hope you still have 2 more days at COP before you leave.
Yes.
So I hope you will have an opportunity to ask somebody in the COP this question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah. And I will put the same question to you, Laura, because you are a communication expert and you've been working with NGOs for so long. And at the moment, at this point of time, what is the most important question you ask yourself? And you ask yourself as a woman, and what you ask others?
I think of myself, I realize that so often we talk about how do I save the world or how do I change the planet? But actually, I think a more relevant question is, who am I becoming? Because things are not static, things are changing. And actually, it does need to start with ourselves. And that can sound very trite, that can sound very fluffy, but I think it's important to be thinking about what that transformation is. And maybe this links to that second bit of the question. I think as women, sometimes we are encouraged to harden ourselves. And in this climate crisis, this planetary crisis we live in, times are tough, right? Things are hard, things are difficult. And actually a natural response sometimes is to get defensive or to harden yourself. But I think there is a real power to softness. I think there is a real power to some of the things that have been dismissed before as the feminine soft skills, but things around collaboration or compassion or care and love, that word again, that actually are vitally important. So who am I becoming? Am I becoming someone who's getting hardened or cynical? Or am I becoming someone who is more open, more caring, more compassionate, more loving? And if I'm not, how do I remind myself to keep leaning into that rather than to the hardness? And then in terms of what I would ask of others, it might be what are you seeding? What seeds are you putting out into the world? So with Project Dandelion, we speak about the dandelion because it's a plant that grows on 6 continents. It is very resilient.
Yes, indeed.
Every part of it's healing. Every single part you can eat, and it has healing properties. And it's also really stubborn. It's incredibly stubborn. You can't get rid of it. But I think that's a powerful symbol. It's the reason it's a symbol for us. Because even in the cracks or the dirty places or the places that seem to have no hope, even in the concrete, you see dandelions come up. And I think we need more of that bright yellow, more of that color, more of that vibrancy and that resilience. So I would ask others, what is it you're seeding? Are you seeding fear? Are you seeding doubt? Are you seeding negativity? Or are you seeding these positive things like resilience, hope, strength, healing? And that would be my question to them, I think.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. And we went out on a team trip today on the river and into the forest, and I could feel how the river and the forest made me soft. Yeah, because 1 week here, COP stress, you harden yourself, and I just feel I became softer and softer the further into the forest I went. So that's very good to go out in nature. It will help us to remind ourselves about that.
After all we've done to nature, nature is still so giving.
Yes,
It's incredible.
it's incredible. Yeah. So thank you very much for a very inspiring conversation. And I was thinking we could ask Maureen to finish with a meditation, and we can bring the softness and the love and compassion back and to ourselves and to the audience here online.
Thank you. So let us reflect and go inside and ask the question, who am I and what am I becoming? I'm not a physical being. I am a spiritual being, a being of light. And my original nature is peace. And this takes me away from all the labels, all the obligations, and brings me back to my true self. And in this awareness, I can feel the connection with a higher source, a source of love, a source of truth. And I invoke that presence and become a channel to share that divine love with our world. Love brings compassion and care. Love brings wholeness. Love brings healing. With the power of my thoughts as an instrument, let me surround our beautiful world with love, so that together we can all be healed and move into a brighter, harmonious, loving future together. Thank you.
Thank you, very beautiful. I could feel the power here in the room, but also with the people watching online. So thank you both of you for a very beautiful and inspiring conversation. I will actually listen to it again after this session.
Thank you.
It was really nice. And thank you to our online audience, to all the volunteers here behind the scene to making this live stream possible. And tomorrow is Sunday, so no live stream. And then we are back on Monday, so most welcome. And here, after this conversation, we play a short video from Project Dandelion, so please stay with us. And you can find more information on our website, echo.brahmakumaris.org. So apart from that, I say thank you and good night and good evening from the Amazons, from Belém in Brazil.
Our climate is in crisis.
I believe we can solve it.
I am clear-eyed about the challenges, and I choose hope.
I will be part of the solution.
I will share my ideas.
Above all, I will act.
I am a dandelion.
And like a dandelion, I am resilient.
I am relentless.
I will find any opening
In every path,
To make more dandelions.
Together, we will build a future
where everyone is safe.
From a changing climate.
I am a dandelion.
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 I'm a dandelion. Are you?